get your stuff and get out! Ah! Ah!
The voice coming through their smart speaker wasn't Nina's. Aaron froze mid-sip of his morning coffee, the ceramic mug hovering inches from his lips. The kitchen speaker, synced to his wife's smartwatch, had picked up what sounded like a recording from her phone. A man's voice, breathless and intimate. God, Nina, you feel so good. The coffee mug hit the counter harder than Aaron intended. His 38-year-old hands, calloused from years of managing sanitation routes, gripped the granite edge until his knuckles went white. Through the kitchen window, he watched Nina load her suitcase into Derek's Honda Civic. Her gay friend, Derek, who was supposedly just giving her a ride to the airport for their cruise together. The voice in the recording didn't sound gay. Aaron's phone buzzed, a text from Carlos, his co-worker. Dude, saw your wife's Instagram story. That Derek guy's got his hands all over some chick at Maverick's bar last night. Thought he was gay? The pieces clicked together like a freight train hitting a wall. Nina had been planning this cruise for months. Derek the bartender, Derek the aspiring influencer, Derek the safe gay friend who could share a cabin without raising suspicions. Except Derek wasn't gay, and Aaron had just heard the proof. Nina walked back into the kitchen, her blonde hair pulled into a perfect travel bun, her real estate agent's smile plastered across her face. She looked every bit the successful 36-year-old professional she presented to the world. Ready for your big trip? Aaron asked, his voice steady. Oh, you know how it is, Nina said, not meeting his eyes. Derek's been so stressed with his new social media stuff. He needs this break. I'm sure he does. Nina grabbed her phone from the counter, not noticing that Aaron had already seen the smartwatch notification that synced the recording. She kissed his cheek, a perfunctory gesture that felt like a business transaction. I'll call you when we dock in Cozumel, she said. Aaron nodded, watching his wife of 7 years walk out the door with another man. He waited until Derek's car disappeared around the corner before he picked up his phone and called his sister Leah. The recording just played through the kitchen speaker, he said without preamble. Jesus, Aaron. Are you sure? Derek's not gay, Leah, and they're not just friends. There was silence on the other end. Leah, 5 years younger and infinitely wiser about people's motivations, had warned him about Nina's friendship with Derek months ago. What are you going to do? She asked. Aaron looked around the kitchen of the house he'd worked double shifts to help buy. At the coffee maker Nina complained wasn't expensive enough. At the granite counters she'd insisted they needed to keep up appearances in her real estate career. I'm going to think about it, he said. But Aaron already knew. He'd spent 15 years in sanitation logistics, learning that the best way to handle garbage was methodically, systematically, and completely. Aaron didn't hire a private investigator. He didn't install tracking software or break into email accounts. Instead, he did what he'd always done best. He paid attention. Nina had connected her social media accounts to their shared iPad for convenience. She'd synced her smartwatch to their home speakers to stay connected. She'd linked her phone to their car's Bluetooth system because she was always forgetting to charge it. These weren't security breaches. They were Nina's own digital breadcrumbs, scattered carelessly because she'd never thought Aaron was smart enough to follow them. Tuesday evening, 3 days into the cruise, Aaron sat in his work truck during his lunch break and opened the iPad. Nina's Instagram stories showed her and Derek at the ship's pool deck, his arm draped casually around her waist. The caption read, "Living our best life with my bestie." But Instagram's metadata told a different story. The photo was taken in Derek's cabin at 11:47 p.m., not at the pool during the day. Aaron screenshotted everything. Carlos climbed into the passenger seat with 2 gas station burritos and a Mountain Dew. Find anything new? He asked. They're not even trying to hide it, Aaron said, showing him the screen. Look at this. Carlos squinted at the phone. At 32, he had the perpetual 5 o'clock shadow of a man who'd given up on impressing anyone, but still had enough humor left to make Aaron laugh when everything felt like garbage. Brother, your wife thinks you're stupid, Carlos said. Which, no offense, you kind of have been. Thanks for the pep talk. I'm serious. You're sitting here collecting evidence like you're going to court, but what's the plan? You gonna wave screenshots at her and ask for an apology? Aaron had been asking himself the same question. Traditional revenge felt hollow. He could file for divorce, split their assets, move on with his life. But Nina had spent years making him feel small, dismissing his opinions, correcting him in front of friends, treating him like an accessory to her upwardly mobile lifestyle. She deserved more than paperwork. I want her to feel how I felt, Aaron said finally, which is how, humiliated, stupid, like everyone was laughing behind my back. Carlos nodded slowly. Now you're talking. But you gotta be smart about it. Nina's got those bougie friends who'll close ranks around her the second they smell drama. Aaron knew exactly who Carlos meant. Lisa and Tanya, Nina's real estate colleagues who treated their monthly wine nights like strategy sessions for social warfare. They'd encouraged Nina's friendship with Derek, probably knowing exactly what it was. I need to isolate her, Aaron said. How? Aaron thought about Derek, the wannabe influencer who'd built his entire online presence on being authentic and trustworthy. The bartender who'd convinced Nina that her husband was too blue-collar to understand her ambitions. I'm going to give everyone what they want to see, Aaron said. The truth. Nina returned from the cruise with a tan and a story about Derek getting food poisoning. She seemed relaxed, almost giddy as she unpacked her suitcase in their bedroom. Derek was such a trooper, she said, holding up a Cozumel t-shirt she'd apparently bought for Aaron. Even sick, he was taking care of everyone on the trip. Aaron examined the shirt, size large, even though he wore medium. It looked like something grabbed at the last minute from a gift shop. Sounds like a great friend, he said. The best. Actually, I was thinking we should have him over for dinner soon. You two should get to know each other better. This was exactly what Aaron had hoped for. Sure, he said. How about Saturday? I'll cook. Nina looked surprised. Aaron rarely offered to cook for guests, mainly because Nina usually took over and criticized his technique. But this time, he had a specific menu in mind. Saturday arrived with unseasonably warm weather for April in Cincinnati. Aaron spent the morning preparing chicken marsala, garlic bread, a salad with ingredients from the farmer's market. Nothing fancy, but solid food that required attention and timing. Derek arrived at 6, carrying a bottle of wine that Aaron recognized as the house red from the bar where Derek worked. He was shorter than Aaron had expected, maybe 5'8", with the kind of carefully maintained stubble that took more effort than a full beard. His clothes were expensive-looking, but slightly too tight, like he was trying to show off a gym membership. Aaron, right? Derek said, extending his hand. I've heard so much about you. Likewise, Aaron replied, gripping Derek's hand just a little too firmly. Nina says you two had an amazing time on the cruise. Oh man, it was incredible. Really life-changing, you know? Nina appeared in the kitchen doorway, wearing a dress Aaron hadn't seen before. Something low-cut and red that she'd probably bought for the cruise. Smells amazing in here, she said. Derek, you have to try Aaron's cooking. He's actually pretty talented when he applies himself. The backhanded compliment hit exactly as intended, but Aaron just smiled. Let's eat, he said. Dinner conversation flowed easily enough. Derek talked about his social media strategy, his plans to expand beyond bartending, his vision for authentic lifestyle content. Nina hung on every word, asking questions and offering suggestions with the kind of enthusiasm she'd never shown for Aaron's work stories. The thing about influence, Derek said, cutting into his chicken, is that people can tell when you're fake. Authenticity is everything. Absolutely, Aaron said. People always know when someone's lying to them, even if they can't prove it. Derek's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Nina shot Aaron a look that could have frozen the wine. What do you mean? Derek asked. Just that trust is fragile, Aaron said casually. Once people think you're not who you say you are, it's hard to come back from that. Aaron's always been philosophical, Nina said quickly. More wine, Derek? But Derek was studying Aaron now, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Aaron met his gaze steadily, letting the silence stretch just long enough to be uncomfortable. Actually, Aaron said, I should mention, my sister Leah is having a housewarming party next weekend. You should both come. She's been dying to meet Derek. That sounds fun, Nina said, though her voice was tight. Great, Aaron said. She's invited some of her friends from the bar scene. I think you'll have a lot in common with them, Derek. Derek nodded, but something in his expression had shifted. Aaron could see the wheels turning, the calculation of social risk versus benefit. After dinner, while Nina was in the bathroom, Derek lingered in the kitchen. Your wife's amazing, he said. Yes, she is, Aaron replied, not looking up from loading the dishwasher. You're a lucky guy. I know exactly how lucky I am. Derek opened his mouth like he wanted to say something else, then seemed to think better of it. When Nina returned, Derek announced he should probably head home. Early day tomorrow, he said, though it was barely 8:30. After they left for Derek's car, Aaron found himself alone in the kitchen again. But this time, instead of hearing evidence of his wife's betrayal through the smart speaker, he was listening to the sound of his own plan taking shape. He picked up his phone and texted Leah. Saturday's party is a go. I need you to invite Tommy. Tommy was Derek's ex-boyfriend from 2 years ago. Aaron had found him through Derek's old Instagram posts, the ones from before Derek had scrubbed his social media presence clean. Tommy worked at a competing bar downtown and, based on his recent posts, had some opinions about Derek's sudden claim to heterosexuality. Leah texted back immediately. This is really happening? Aaron looked around the kitchen one more time, at the dishes Nina had left for him to clean, at the expensive wine glasses she'd insisted they needed, at the home they'd built together on lies and assumptions. Yes, he typed back. It's really happening. Leah's apartment was small but perfectly arranged, the kind of space that looked effortless but had been carefully curated. Aaron arrived early to help set up, though mostly he wanted to brief his sister on the evening's objectives. Tommy knows the situation? He asked, arranging bottles on the kitchen counter. I told him Derek would be here with a married woman, Leah said. He seemed very interested in meeting her. And you're sure he'll… Aaron, Leah grabbed his arm. Tommy is not subtle. Trust me. Nina and Derek arrived fashionably late, Nina carrying a bottle of Prosecco and wearing another new outfit. She surveyed the apartment with the slightly condescending smile she reserved for spaces that didn't meet her standards. This is so cute, she told Leah. Very cozy. Aaron watched Derek scan the room, taking inventory of the other guests. Leah had invited an eclectic mix. Her co-workers from the nonprofit where she did grant writing, some neighbors, a few people from her graduate program. The kind of crowd where a bartender influencer could easily blend in and work his charm. Tommy arrived at 9, and Aaron recognized him immediately from Instagram photos. Tall, lean, with dark hair and the kind of sharp cheekbones that photographed well. He wore black jeans and a simple white t-shirt that somehow looked more expensive than Derek's entire outfit. Tommy! Leah called out, a little too loudly. Come meet my brother Aaron and his wife Nina. And this is their friend Derek. Tommy's eyes found Derek across the room, and Aaron saw recognition flicker across his face. But instead of approaching directly, Tommy smiled and extended his hand to Nina first. Nina, right? I love your Instagram, he said, especially the recent cruise photos. Looked like an amazing trip. Thank you, Nina said, clearly pleased. It was incredible. Derek and I had such a wonderful time. I bet you did, Tommy said, his smile widening. Derek's always had great taste in travel companions. Derek had gone very still. Aaron positioned himself where he could watch both men, while appearing to focus on his conversation with Leah. Have we met? Derek asked, his voice carefully casual. Tommy Rivera, Tommy said, extending his hand. I work at Sanctuary. We might have crossed paths in the bar scene. Derek shook his hand, but Aaron could see the tension in his shoulders. Maybe, Derek said. I meet a lot of people. Oh, I remember you, Tommy said. We actually dated for about 6 months 2 years ago. You probably don't recall. You were going through your whole figuring out your sexuality phase. The words hit the room like a dropped glass. Nina's smile faltered. Derek's face went pale. I think you have me confused with someone else, Derek said. Definitely not, Tommy said, pulling out his phone. I still have photos. Want to see? That's not necessary, Derek said quickly. But Tommy was already swiping through his camera roll, and several people had gathered around to look. Aaron caught a glimpse of the photos. Derek and Tommy at restaurants, at parties, in what was clearly Tommy's bedroom. See, you had that same haircut, Tommy said, showing the phone to Nina. We broke up because you said you thought you might be straight after all. Guess you figured it out. Nina stared at the photos, her face cycling through confusion, realization, and something approaching fury. Derek, she said quietly, can we talk outside? Nina, let me explain. Outside. Now. Aaron watched them leave, then turned to Tommy, who was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Thanks, Aaron said simply. My pleasure, Tommy replied. Derek's a piece of work. Always has been. Through Leah's front window, Aaron could see Nina and Derek in heated conversation beside Derek's car. Nina was gesturing wildly. Derek kept trying to touch her arm, and she kept pulling away. The party continued around them, but Aaron found himself watching the drama unfold in the parking lot like it was a movie. Other guests had noticed too, and conversations kept trailing off as people glanced toward the window. Finally, Derek got in his car and drove away. Nina stood alone in the parking lot for a long moment before walking back inside. Her makeup was smudged, and her carefully styled hair had come loose. She found Aaron in the kitchen and grabbed his arm. "We're leaving," she said. "Everything okay? Don't..." They drove home in complete silence. Aaron kept his eyes on the road, but he could feel Nina's anger radiating from the passenger seat like heat from a furnace. At home, Nina went directly to their bedroom and slammed the door. Aaron heard her on the phone, her voice muffled but clearly agitated. He couldn't make out words, but the tone was unmistakable. Damage control. He made himself a drink and sat in the living room, thinking about Tommy's photos and Derek's face when his cover was blown. It had been almost too easy. But this was just the beginning. The next few days passed in tense silence. Nina left for work early and came home late, avoiding Aaron whenever possible. She'd moved to the guest bedroom without explanation, though they both knew why. Aaron went about his normal routine, managing routes, coordinating with drivers, handling the endless paperwork that kept Cincinnati's waste management system running. But during his lunch breaks, he found himself researching Derek's social media presence with the methodical attention he usually reserved for logistics problems. Derek had tried to scrub references to Tommy from his Instagram, but the internet never forgets completely. Aaron found cached pages, tagged photos from mutual friends, check-ins at gay bars from Derek's more honest period. More importantly, he found Derek's attempts to build an influencer brand around relationship advice and authentic living. The irony was almost too perfect. On Thursday, Carlos joined Aaron for lunch at their usual spot, a parking lot overlooking the Ohio River where they ate gas station sandwiches and talked through whatever was eating at them. "Nina's been posting a lot lately," Carlos said, showing Aaron his phone. "Look at this crap." Nina's Instagram story was a collection of motivational quotes about female empowerment and toxic masculinity. "Trust your instincts," read one. "When someone shows you who they are, believe them." "She's trying to control the narrative," Aaron said. "What narrative? Nobody knows what happened except you guys and that Tommy dude. Lisa and Tanya know." "Nina tells them everything." Carlos nodded. Lisa and Tanya were legends in their social circle for their ability to spin gossip into gospel truth. If Nina had enlisted them, she was planning something. "What's your next move?" Carlos asked. Aaron had been thinking about that. The party had damaged Derek's credibility, but it hadn't really touched Nina. If anything, she could position herself as the victim, the trusting wife whose gay friend had deceived everyone. "I need Derek to make a mistake," Aaron said. "Something public." "Like what?" Aaron watched a barge push through the muddy water below them. Logistics was all about moving things from point A to point B efficiently. People weren't so different. They followed predictable patterns, responded to familiar incentives. Derek's whole brand is about authenticity, right? What if someone challenged that publicly? You mean like call him out online? Something better. What if Derek had to choose between his brand and his secrets? Carlos raised an eyebrow. "You're getting scary, brother." Maybe he was. But Aaron had spent 7 years being the reliable husband, the steady provider, the man who never caused drama or demanded attention. Where had it gotten him? That evening, Aaron created a fake Instagram account using photos of an attractive woman he found on a stock photography site. He gave her a name, Jessica Chen, and a backstory as a marketing consultant interested in collaborating with lifestyle influencers. Then he sent Derek a direct message. "Hi, Derek. I love your content around authentic living and relationship advice. I represent several brands looking for genuine voices in the lifestyle space. Would you be interested in discussing a potential partnership? We're specifically looking for creators who can speak honestly about modern relationships and sexuality. Your authentic approach really resonates with our target demographic." Derek responded within an hour. "Thanks for reaching out, Jessica. I'd love to discuss potential partnerships. My content focuses on helping people live their truth and build authentic connections. When works for you to chat?" Aaron smiled. Hook, line, and sinker. He arranged to meet Derek at a coffee shop downtown, somewhere public but not too busy. Somewhere with good lighting for the cameras Aaron planned to have running. But first, he needed to have a conversation with Nina. She was in the living room when he got home, laptop open, surrounded by real estate documents. She looked up when he walked in, her expression carefully neutral. "We need to talk," Aaron said. "About what?" "About Derek, about the cruise, about what happens next." Nina closed her laptop slowly. "I don't know what you think you know. I know everything, Nina. The recordings, the photos, the lies about Derek being gay. All of it." For a moment, her mask slipped, and Aaron saw something that might have been relief. Like she was tired of carrying the weight of deception. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she said quietly. "But it did. Yes?" They sat in silence for a while. Outside, Aaron could hear their neighbor's dog barking and the distant hum of traffic on the highway. "Are you going to divorce me?" Nina asked finally. Aaron had been expecting this question, but hearing it still felt like a punch to the chest. 7 years of marriage, reduced to a legal transaction. "That depends," he said. "On what? On whether you're done lying?" Nina looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. How long it's been going on, whether Lisa and Tanya knew, what you told Derek about me?" Nina wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly looking smaller than her usual commanding presence. "It started about 6 months ago," she said. "Derek wasn't actually gay. That was his idea, so we could spend time together without anyone getting suspicious. Lisa and Tanya. They suspected, but they didn't know for sure. And She paused, struggling with something. "What did you tell him about me? That you were boring. That you didn't understand my ambitions. That you were holding me back." Each word hit like a physical blow, but Aaron kept his expression neutral. He'd suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed was different. "And now?" he asked. "Now Derek won't return my calls. He's embarrassed about Tommy, angry that I didn't warn him about the party. And Lisa and Tanya are asking questions I don't know how to answer." Aaron nodded. Nina's support system was already cracking. Derek was pulling away to protect his own image, and her friends were sensing weakness. "What happens next is up to you," Aaron said, standing up. "What do you mean?" "You can keep lying, keep trying to manage this situation, keep pretending nothing happened. Or you can be honest. With me, with yourself, with everyone else. And if I'm honest," Aaron looked at his wife, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. She was beautiful, successful, intelligent. She was also selfish, manipulative, and cruel. Both things could be true at the same time. "Then we'll see," he said. As he walked toward the stairs, Nina called after him. "Aaron? What are you going to do about Derek?" He paused at the bottom of the staircase. "Derek's going to do what Derek always does. He's going to make it about himself." Aaron climbed the stairs to their bedroom, leaving Nina alone with her laptop and her lies. Tomorrow, he would meet Derek at the coffee shop. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. But tonight, for the first time in months, Aaron slept peacefully. The coffee shop Aaron had chosen was perfect. Busy enough to provide cover, quiet enough for conversation, with large windows that let in natural light. He arrived 30 minutes early and positioned himself at a corner table where he could see the entire space. Derek showed up exactly on time, scanning the room for someone who looked like the Jessica Chen from the fake Instagram account. He was dressed more casually than usual, jeans and a sweater instead of his typical try-hard ensemble, but Aaron could see the nervous energy in the way he kept checking his phone. Aaron waited 5 minutes, then walked over. "Derek, I think you're waiting for Jessica Chen." Derek looked up, confused. "Do I know you?" "Aaron, Nina's husband." The color drained from Derek's face. He started to stand, but Aaron gestured for him to sit back down. "Relax. I just want to talk. Look, man, I don't know what Nina told you. Nina didn't tell me anything. Jessica Chen isn't real. I created that account to get you here." Derek's eyes darted toward the exit, but Aaron had positioned himself to block the most direct route. "What do you want?" Derek asked. "I want you to stop lying." "I haven't—" "Derek." Aaron's voice was calm but firm. "You ducked my wife on a cruise ship while pretending to be gay. You've been lying to everyone about who you are for months. The least you can do now is be honest with me." Derek slumped in his chair. Around them, the coffee shop hummed with normal conversation, students studying, business people having meetings, friends catching up. Life continuing as usual, while Derek's carefully constructed world crumbled. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," Derek said finally. How was it supposed to happen? I don't know. I thought maybe Nina would leave you. We'd be together. It would be simple. Aaron almost laughed. Simple? You built an entire fake identity. The gay thing wasn't fake at first. I really thought I might be. I dated Tommy. I tried to make it work, but it wasn't me. So you decided to lie instead of just admitting you were straight? Derek ran his hands through his hair. Do you know how hard it is to build a following? People don't trust straight white guys giving relationship advice. But a gay guy who's been through heartbreak, who understands what women want, that's marketable. There it was, the ugly truth beneath Derek's authentic living brand. Everything had been calculated for maximum social media impact. And Nina fit into this how? She was different from other married women. Ambitious. She understood image, branding, what it takes to build something. She made me feel like I could be more than just a bartender. Aaron nodded. Nina had always been good at making people feel special, like they were part of her vision for a better life. It was one of the things that had attracted him to her in the first place. So what's the plan now? Aaron asked. What do you mean? Tommy blew up your cover at the party. Nina's friends are asking questions. Your influencer career is based on lies that everyone's starting to figure out. What's your next move? Derek was quiet for a long moment, staring at his untouched coffee. I was thinking about leaving town, he said finally. Starting over somewhere else. Running away. What else can I do? My reputation here is shot. Aaron leaned back in his chair. This was exactly what he'd hoped Derek would say. Or, Aaron said, you could tell the truth. What? Come clean. Post a video explaining everything. The fake gay identity, the affair with Nina, the lies about authentic living. Take responsibility. Derek looked horrified. That would destroy my career. Your career is already destroyed. At least, this way, you control the narrative. Why would you want me to do that? Aaron smiled for the first time since Derek had sat down. Because I want everyone to know exactly who you are. Derek stared at him across the small table. You're serious. Dead serious. You have until Friday to post the video. If you don't, I'll post everything myself. Screenshots of your messages with Nina, photos from the cruise, evidence of your fake identity. The only difference is whether you tell your story or I tell it for you. That's blackmail. That's consequences. Derek's hands were shaking now. What about Nina? What happens to her? Nina's my wife. Nina's my problem. Aaron stood up, leaving Derek alone at the table with his cold coffee and his impossible choice. As he walked toward the exit, he heard Derek call after him. Aaron, what if I don't do it? What if I just disappear? Aaron turned back. Then I'll find you. And when I do, the story will be bigger, uglier, and more public than anything you can imagine. He left Derek sitting in the coffee shop, staring at his phone like it was a loaded gun. That evening, Aaron sat in his truck during his dinner break and checked Derek's social media accounts. No new posts, but Aaron could see the anxiety in Derek's online behavior, liking and unliking photos, starting comments and deleting them before posting. Carlos climbed into the passenger seat with dinner for both of them. How'd the coffee date go? He asked. Derek's thinking about running. You gonna let him? Aaron unwrapped his sandwich, considering the question. Where's he going to go? His whole identity is built around this city, these people, this scene. He leaves, he's nobody. And if he stays, he has to face what he's done. Carlos nodded approvingly. Either way, he's ducked. Either way, everyone knows the truth. That night, Aaron found Nina in the guest bedroom, packing a suitcase. Going somewhere? He asked. My sister's, for a few days. Aaron leaned against the doorframe. Running away too? Nina stopped packing and looked at him. I talked to Derek today. He said you threatened him. I gave him a choice. What choice? The same choice I'm giving you. Tell the truth. Or have it told for you. Nina sat down on the bed, surrounded by half-packed clothes. I don't understand what's happened to you. You used to be different. I used to be stupid. You used to be kind. Aaron considered this. Maybe she was right. Maybe the old Aaron would have handled this differently. With more compassion, more forgiveness, more concern for everyone's feelings. But the old Aaron had been married to a woman who respected him. The old Aaron hadn't spent months listening to his wife lie to his face while she planned a vacation with her lover. "Kind men finish last," Aaron said. "Didn't you teach me that?" Nina looked at him like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we wait and see if Derek makes the right choice." Aaron left her with her suitcase and her guilt. Friday was still 2 days away. Derek posted the video on Thursday night. Aaron was in his truck, heading home from a late emergency call about a broken compactor, when his phone started buzzing with notifications. Carlos had tagged him in a comment on Derek's Instagram. "Holy crap, bro, you need to see this." Aaron pulled into a gas station parking lot and opened the app. Derek's latest post was a video, 15 minutes long, titled "My Truth." Already it had hundreds of views and dozens of comments. Aaron pressed play. Derek sat in what looked like his apartment, wearing a plain black t-shirt, no makeup or special lighting. He looked tired, defeated, but there was something almost relieved in his expression. "I need to tell you guys something," Derek began. "And it's going to be hard to hear because it's hard to say." Aaron turned up the volume. "For the past 2 years, I've been lying to you. About who I am, about my relationships, about what authentic living means to me. I built my brand around being gay, around understanding women's perspectives, around living my truth. But the truth is, I'm not gay. I never was." The comments were already starting to pour in. Shock, anger, disappointment, betrayal. "I dated men because I thought it would help my career. I thought it would make me more marketable, more trustworthy, more relatable to my audience. And when that didn't work out the way I planned, I started dating women while pretending to still be gay." Derek paused, running his hands through his hair in the gesture Aaron had come to recognize as his tell. "6 months ago, I started a relationship with a married woman. I told her I was gay so her husband wouldn't be suspicious. I went on vacation with her, slept with her, fell in love with her, all while lying to everyone about who I was and what I wanted." Aaron felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and pity. Derek was doing exactly what Aaron had asked, telling the complete, humiliating truth. "I hurt people. I lied to people who trusted me. I built a career on deception and manipulation, and I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but it's all I have." The video continued for several more minutes, with Derek answering questions he'd apparently prepared for himself. Yes, the woman was married. No, he wouldn't reveal her identity. Yes, he was leaving social media permanently. No, he didn't expect forgiveness. Aaron scrolled through the comments. The reaction was swift and brutal. Former fans expressed their betrayal. Other influencers distanced themselves. Brands that had worked with Derek were already posting statements about terminating partnerships. Derek's career was over. Aaron's phone rang. Nina. "Did you see it?" she asked without preamble. "I saw it. He didn't mention my name." "No, he didn't. But people will figure it out." Aaron knew she was right. Nina's social circle wasn't that large, and her cruise with Derek had been documented on social media. It wouldn't take long for people to connect the dots. "Probably," he agreed. "What am I supposed to do now?" Aaron thought about the question. 6 months ago, he would have comforted her, helped her figure out damage control, protected her from the consequences of her own choices. "You're supposed to deal with it," he said. "Aaron, you made your choices, Nina. Derek made his. Now you both get to live with them." He hung up and drove home. The next morning, Aaron's routine was interrupted by a knock at the front door. He opened it to find Lisa and Tanya on his porch, looking like they'd dressed for battle. "We need to talk," Lisa said. Aaron invited them in, curious about what Nina's enablers had to say now that their carefully maintained social dynamics had exploded. "This is about Nina," Tanya said, settling into the living room like she owned it. "I figured. She's devastated," Lisa added. "That video Derek posted, it's destroying her reputation." Aaron sat down across from them, noting how they'd positioned themselves like they were conducting an intervention. "Her reputation," Aaron repeated. "What about mine?" Lisa and Tanya exchanged glances. They'd clearly prepared for this conversation, but Aaron's calm directness seemed to throw them off script. "Look, Aaron," Lisa said, "we know Nina made mistakes. But Derek manipulated her. He lied about being gay. He took advantage of her trust. He took advantage of her marriage." "That's not fair," Tanya interrupted. "You don't know what Nina's been going through." The pressure she's under at work, the way you never supported her ambitions. Aaron held up a hand. Stop. The authority in his voice surprised all three of them. For years, he'd let Nina's friends steamroll conversations, dismiss his opinions, treat him like background noise in his own home. Nina is 36 years old, Aaron said. She's a successful real estate agent. She's smart, educated, and perfectly capable of making her own decisions. She decided to lie to me for 6 months. She decided to go on vacation with another man. She decided to have sex with him while I was home working double shifts to pay for her lifestyle. But Derek, Lisa started. Derek's a piece of crap. We all agree on that. But Nina chose to be with him. Nina chose to lie. Nina chose to humiliate me in front of our entire social circle. Tanya's face flushed red. So what? You're just going to abandon her when she needs support? Aaron looked at these women. Nina's closest friends, her confidants, her enablers. They'd spent years encouraging Nina's worst impulses, feeding her ego, validating her complaints about her boring husband. Where were you 6 months ago? Aaron asked. When Nina needed support to work on her marriage instead of destroying it? That's different. No, it's not. You both knew what was happening. You encouraged it. You helped her lie. Lisa stood up abruptly. We're not going to sit here and be attacked by... By what? By the husband you all treated like furniture? The room went quiet. Aaron could see both women reassessing him, trying to reconcile this version of Aaron with the passive, accommodating man they'd known. Nina's at her sister's, Tanya said finally. She's not eating, not sleeping. She's talking about leaving town. Maybe that's for the best. How can you say that? Aaron stood up, signaling that the conversation was over. Because some mistakes can't be fixed. Some trust can't be rebuilt. Some relationships don't deserve to survive. Lisa and Tanya left without another word. Their mission of saving Nina's reputation clearly failed. Aaron watched them drive away, then checked his phone. Derek's video had gone viral overnight. Not internet-famous viral, but Cincinnati scene viral. Local blogs were picking it up, restaurant workers were gossiping about it, the hashtag #AuthenticLiving was trending with sarcastic comments. Aaron's phone buzzed with a text from Carlos. Dude, Derek's video is everywhere. Channel 12 wants to interview him about influencer fraud. You broke him. Maybe he had. But Aaron felt no satisfaction in Derek's destruction, only a cold sense of completion, like finishing a difficult job. His phone rang. Nina again. Lisa and Tanya said you were cruel to them. I was honest with them. They were trying to help. They were trying to manage your image, just like they've been doing for months. Nina was quiet for a moment. I've been thinking about what you said, about telling the truth. And I want to come home. I want to try to fix this. Aaron looked around the house they'd shared, at the photos on the walls showing 7 years of a marriage that had been dissolving while he wasn't paying attention. What truth are you planning to tell, Nina? That I made a mistake, that I'm sorry, that I want our marriage to work. That's not the truth. Yes, it is. The truth is that you've been unhappy for years. The truth is that you think I'm boring and beneath you. The truth is that you only want to fix this now because Derek's gone and your friends can't protect you from the consequences. Nina started crying. Aaron could hear it through the phone, ugly, desperate sobs that might have moved him a week ago. I do love you, she said through the tears. Maybe. But you don't respect me. You never did. That's not true. Nina, Aaron's voice was gentle now, almost kind. It's okay, we both know what this is. The crying stopped. What happens now? Now you decide what kind of person you want to be. Someone who takes responsibility for her choices or someone who keeps running from them. And us? Aaron looked at his wedding ring, the simple gold band he'd worn for 7 years. There is no us anymore. There hasn't been for a long time. He hung up before Nina could respond. 3 weeks later, Aaron sat in a lawyer's office downtown, signing divorce papers. Nina had filed first, another attempt to control the narrative. But Aaron didn't mind. He'd gotten what he wanted: the house, his retirement accounts, and most importantly, his dignity. The settlement had been surprisingly straightforward. Nina's affair had been documented thoroughly enough that her lawyer advised against fighting for alimony. The house was in both their names, but Aaron had paid most of the mortgage. Their shared assets were split fairly, with Nina taking her car, her jewelry, and her real estate client list. That's it, the lawyer said, collecting the signed documents. Divorce will be final in 30 days. Aaron shook the man's hand and walked out into the spring afternoon. Downtown Cincinnati bustled around him. People heading to lunch, tourists walking toward the riverfront, life continuing its normal rhythm. His phone buzzed, a text from Leah. Drinks tonight? Carlos is buying. Aaron smiled and typed back, see you at 7. At Sanctuary, Tommy's bar, as it turned out, Aaron found his sister and Carlos already settled into a corner booth. The irony of celebrating his divorce in Derek's ex-boyfriend's workplace wasn't lost on him. So how does it feel? Leah asked as Aaron sat down. Like finishing a job I should have started years ago. Carlos raised his beer. To Aaron. Who learned that nice guys don't have to finish last? They clinked glasses. Around them, the bar hummed with Friday night energy. Aaron recognized some faces from Nina's social circle, but they seemed to be avoiding eye contact. Word had gotten around about Derek's video and Nina's involvement. Any regrets? Leah asked. Aaron considered the question. A month ago, he'd been a married man with a steady routine and a comfortable delusion about his wife's fidelity. Now he was divorced, living alone, and had orchestrated the public destruction of two people's reputations. None, he said, and meant it. What's next? Carlos asked. I'm thinking about that promotion to district supervisor. More responsibility, better pay, get out of the field work. And personally, Aaron shrugged. I'm 40 next year. I've got my own house, no debt, and for the first time in forever, nobody's lying to me. I'm good. They drank in comfortable silence for a while. The bar filled up around them, and Aaron found himself people-watching, studying couples and wondering which ones were really happy and which ones were just going through the motions. Around 9, Tommy appeared at their table. Aaron, right? From Leah's party? Aaron nodded. Thanks for that, by the way. Tommy grinned. My pleasure. Derek had it coming. He paused, then added, I heard about the video and the divorce. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing that could have happened. Good for you. Can I buy you guys around? Aaron was about to decline when he noticed someone familiar across the bar. Nina, sitting alone at a small table staring at her phone. She looked thinner than he remembered, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her typical professional attire. She looked up and saw him watching. For a moment, their eyes met across the crowded room. Aaron felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no nostalgia for what they'd had. Just a mild curiosity about what she was doing there. Nina stood up and walked over. Hello, Aaron. Nina. Leah and Carlos shifted uncomfortably. This was the first time Aaron had seen his wife, his ex-wife, since she'd moved out. Can we talk? Nina asked. Privately? Aaron looked at his sister and best friend, then back at Nina. Whatever you need to say, you can say here. Nina glanced around the bar, clearly uncomfortable with the public setting. I wanted to apologize. Really? Apologize? Not the kind I gave you before? Okay. I was selfish. I was cruel. I took you for granted, and I hurt you in ways I can't take back. Her voice was steady, but Aaron could see the effort it was costing her. You didn't deserve any of it. Aaron nodded. You're right, I didn't. I know you probably can't forgive me, but I needed you to know that I understand what I did, what I lost. What did you lose, Nina? The question seemed to catch her off guard. You, our marriage, our life together. Did you want those things? Really? Nina was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the bar continued its Friday night rhythm, but Aaron felt like they were in a bubble, finally having the honest conversation they should have had years ago. I thought I did, she said finally. But I think what I really wanted was the idea of them, the security, the stability, the appearance of having it all figured out. And now I'm 36, divorced, and my reputation in this town is destroyed. I'm probably going to have to start over somewhere else. Aaron almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That might be good for you, he said. Fresh start, new people who don't know your history. Chance to figure out who you really are. Nina smiled sadly. Always trying to fix things, aren't you? Not anymore. She nodded, understanding. I should go. I wanted you to know that I know. What I did? What it cost both of us? Nina turned to leave, then stopped. Aaron? Are you happy? Aaron looked around the bar. At Leah and Carlos, at Tommy, who was pretending not to eavesdrop, at the life he was building without her. "I'm getting there," he said. After Nina left, the three of them sat in silence for a while. "That was big of her," Leah said finally. "Too little, too late," Carlos added. Aaron finished his beer and stood up. "I'm heading home." "You sure you're okay?" Leah asked. "Yeah, I'm good." And he was. Not happy yet, maybe, but good. Clean. Free. Aaron's phone rang at 6:30 on a Tuesday morning. He answered without looking at the caller ID, assuming it was work. "Aaron, it's Derek." Aaron sat up in bed, suddenly alert. He hadn't heard from Derek since the coffee shop confrontation. "What do you want?" "I'm leaving town today. Moving to Portland. I wanted to call before I go." Aaron got out of bed and walked to his kitchen, the same kitchen where he'd first heard evidence of Nina's betrayal 9 months ago. The smart speaker was gone now, along with most of the expensive appliances Nina had insisted they needed. "Congratulations," Aaron said. "I ducked up my life here, completely. The video, losing my job, having everyone know what kind of person I am. I can't stay. Running away again." "Yeah, I guess I am." Derek was quiet for a moment. "I wanted to say I'm sorry for what I did to you, to Nina, to everyone. I know it doesn't change anything, but I needed to say it." Aaron poured himself coffee from the simple machine he'd bought to replace Nina's espresso maker. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you were right. About everything. About me being a coward, about running from consequences, about living a lie. You saw through all my bullcrap from the beginning." "It wasn't hard," Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know what's funny? I thought you were the weak one. The boring husband who didn't deserve someone like Nina. But you played me perfectly. You destroyed my entire life without breaking a single law or throwing a single punch." Aaron sipped his coffee, thinking about the man he'd been 9 months ago versus the man he was now. "I didn't destroy your life, Derek. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone could see it. Same result. Different cause." Derek was quiet again. "What happened to Nina?" Aaron had heard through Leah that Nina had moved to Columbus, taken a job with a different real estate company, started over with a new identity and new lies. He'd also heard she was dating someone, a divorced father of 2 who didn't know about her history. "Nina's fine," Aaron said. "Nina always lands on her feet. And you?" Aaron looked around his house. His house now, not theirs. The walls were different colors, the furniture rearranged, the photos changed. It looked like a place where someone actually lived instead of a showroom for Nina's aspirations. "I'm good," Aaron said. "Good, that's good." Derek paused. "I know you probably won't believe this, but I did love her, Nina. It wasn't all about using her or her situation. I really thought we had something." "Maybe you did. Doesn't change what you did to get it." "No, it doesn't." Aaron heard a car honking in the background, probably Derek's ride to the airport. "I have to go," Derek said. "My flight's in 2 hours." "Derek?" "Yeah?" "Don't lie to the next person. Whatever you do in Portland, whoever you meet, just be honest from the start. It's easier." Derek was quiet for so long that Aaron thought he'd hung up. "Thanks," Derek said finally. "I'll try." The line went dead. Aaron finished his coffee and got ready for work, thinking about second chances and whether everyone deserved them. At lunch, he met Carlos at their usual spot overlooking the river. "Derek called me this morning," Aaron said. "He's moving to Portland." "Good riddance. That guy was poison." Aaron unwrapped his sandwich, thinking about Derek's apology. People can change. Some people. Most people just get better at hiding who they really are. Maybe Carlos was right. Aaron had learned that lesson the hard way with Nina. But Derek's call had sounded different. Genuine remorse instead of self-pity. Acceptance instead of blame. "Speaking of change," Carlos said, "you've been different lately. Happier." Aaron considered this. "I think I'm finally becoming the person I was supposed to be before I spent 7 years trying to be the person Nina wanted. And who's that? Someone who doesn't take crap from anyone." Carlos laughed. "I like this version of Aaron better." "Yeah, me too." That evening, Aaron was grilling dinner on his back patio when his doorbell rang. He opened the front door to find a woman about his age, brown hair, friendly smile, holding a casserole dish. "Hi, I'm Kate," she said. I moved in next door last week. Thought I'd introduce myself. Aaron realized he'd been so focused on his own life that he hadn't noticed the sold sign going up next door or the moving truck that had come and gone. Aaron, he said, accepting the casserole dish, welcome to the neighborhood. Thanks. I hope you like lasagna. It's about the only thing I cook well. I love lasagna. Thank you. Kate smiled, and Aaron noticed she had laugh lines around her eyes, the kind that came from actually finding life amusing instead of performing happiness for social media. I should let you get back to your dinner, she said, glancing toward the backyard where smoke from his grill was visible. But maybe we could have coffee sometime? I'm new in town and don't know anyone yet. I'd like that, Aaron said, and was surprised to realize he meant it. After Kate left, Aaron sat on his back patio with her lasagna and his grilled chicken, thinking about how strange life was. 9 months ago, he'd been married to a woman who didn't respect him, living a comfortable lie, believing he was happy. Now he was divorced, alone, and somehow more content than he'd been in years. His phone buzzed with a text from Leah. Drinks Friday? I want to hear about the cute brunette I saw talking to you. Aaron smiled and typed back, How do you know everything? I'm your sister. It's my job. So drinks? Sure. But I'm buying this time. Aaron finished his dinner as the sun set over Cincinnati, thinking about Kate's smile and Derek's apology, and Nina's new life in Columbus. Everyone moving forward, everyone trying to figure out how to be better than they'd been before. He went inside and put Kate's casserole dish in the refrigerator for tomorrow's lunch. It smelled amazing, and Aaron realized he was looking forward to returning the dish, and maybe taking Kate up on that coffee invitation. For the first time in years, the future looked interesting. 8 months after his divorce was finalized, Aaron found himself back at Sanctuary, not for drinks with Carlos and Leah, but for Tommy's birthday party. It was strange how life had rearranged itself. Tommy had become a genuine friend, someone who understood what it was like to be deceived by Derek, and who appreciated Aaron's methodical approach to revenge. The bar was crowded with Tommy's friends, a mix of service industry workers, artists, and young professionals who made up Cincinnati's creative scene. Aaron found himself talking to a photographer about waste management logistics. Not the most glamorous topic, but the woman seemed genuinely interested in the complexity of urban infrastructure. Aaron! He turned to see Nina approaching through the crowd. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, her clothes more casual, her makeup less perfect. She looked, Aaron realized, like a real person instead of a brand. Nina, I didn't expect to see you here. I'm in town for a client meeting. Thought I'd stop by. She glanced around the bar. Tommy invited me, actually. We've stayed in touch. This surprised Aaron. How are things in Columbus? Good. Different. I'm working with a smaller firm, focusing on residential instead of commercial. Less pressure, less drama. That sounds good for you. Nina nodded, then looked at him more closely. You look happy. I am. I'm glad. I really am. She paused, seeming to gather courage. Aaron, I need to tell you something about Derek. Aaron's attention sharpened. What about him? He killed himself 3 weeks ago, in Portland. The words hit Aaron like a physical blow. Around them, the party continued. Laughter, music, the clink of glasses. But Aaron felt like the sound had been turned down. What happened? I don't know all the details, Tommy told me. Apparently, Derek couldn't find work, couldn't rebuild his reputation. He'd been drinking heavily, posting strange things on social media. Nina's voice was steady, but Aaron could see the pain in her eyes. He left a note, apologizing to everyone he'd hurt. Aaron set down his beer, his hands suddenly unsteady. Jesus, I know you hated him. I didn't hate him. Aaron looked at Nina, this woman he'd been married to for 7 years, trying to process what she'd told him. I wanted him to face consequences, not this. I know. But I needed you to hear it from me, not from gossip or social media. They stood in silence for a moment, surrounded by celebration while processing tragedy. Do you blame me? Aaron asked finally. Nina considered the question seriously. No. Derek made his own choices, just like we all did. You didn't make him lie about being gay. You didn't make him sleep with a married woman. You didn't make him build his career on deception. But I destroyed what was left. Derek destroyed what was left. You just made sure people could see it. Nina touched Aaron's arm gently. Derek's death is on Derek, not on you. Aaron wanted to believe her, but he couldn't shake the image of Derek making that final phone call from the airport, trying to apologize, trying to change. Had Aaron been too harsh, too unforgiving? I need some air, he said. Aaron walked outside, leaving the warmth and noise of the party behind. The October air was crisp, autumn settling over Cincinnati with its promise of winter and renewal. He pulled out his phone and called Carlos. Derek's dead, he said when Carlos answered. What? How? Aaron explained what Nina had told him, the words feeling surreal as he spoke them. Crap, man, that's heavy. Yeah. You okay? Aaron thought about the question. Was he okay? He'd spent months orchestrating Derek's downfall, methodically destroying his reputation and career. He'd wanted Derek to suffer consequences, to feel the humiliation Aaron had felt, to understand the cost of deception. He hadn't wanted this. I don't know, Aaron said honestly. You want me to come get you? No, I'm okay. Just needed to process. After he hung up, Aaron stood outside the bar for a long time, thinking about responsibility and consequences and the weight of revenge. He thought about Derek's last phone call, the genuine remorse in his voice, the promise to try to be better. He thought about Nina, rebuilding her life in Columbus with what seemed like genuine humility. About Tommy, who'd moved past his own hurt to become a real friend. About Kate, his neighbor, who'd become something more than a neighbor, who brought out a gentleness in Aaron he'd thought was lost. Everyone trying to be better than they'd been before. Eventually, Aaron went back inside. The party was still going strong, but he found Tommy at the bar and pulled him aside. Nina told me about Derek. Tommy's expression grew serious. Yeah. It's ducked up. Did you know he was struggling that badly? I knew he was having a hard time finding work. The video pretty much blacklisted him from the service industry here, and his influencer thing was dead. But I didn't think... Tommy shook his head. Maybe I should have reached out more. It's not your fault, isn't it? We all wanted him to face consequences. Maybe we got what we wanted. Aaron looked around the bar at all these people who'd been part of Derek's story in one way or another. Tommy, who'd been genuinely hurt by Derek's lies. Nina, who'd risked her marriage for someone who wasn't worth it. Aaron himself, who'd orchestrated Derek's public humiliation with cold precision. They'd all played a part in Derek's downfall, but Derek had written the script. Derek killed himself because he couldn't live with who he really was, Aaron said finally. Not because of what we did to him. Tommy nodded slowly. Maybe, but it still feels crappy. Yeah, it does. Aaron stayed at the party for another hour, but his heart wasn't in it. He said goodbye to Tommy, nodded to Nina across the room, and walked home through the quiet streets of his neighborhood. Kate was sitting on her front porch with a cup of tea, reading under the porch light. Hey, she called softly. How was the party? Aaron paused at the property line between their houses. Over the past few months, Kate had become his closest confidant, the person who knew about his divorce and his revenge and his slow journey back to himself. She was a teacher, divorced herself, with a 12-year-old daughter who spent weekends with her father. She was kind, funny, and refreshingly honest about her own mistakes and regrets. Complicated, Aaron said. Kate set down her book. Want to talk about it? Aaron did want to talk about it, but not tonight. Tonight, he needed to sit with the weight of Derek's death and his own role in the chain of events that had led to it. Tomorrow, he asked. Of course. Aaron went inside his house and poured himself a drink. He sat in his living room looking at the photos on his mantel, pictures of Leah, of Carlos, of his parents, of the life he'd built for himself after everything fell apart. There were no photos of Nina, no remnants of their marriage, except the house itself. Aaron had worked hard to erase those 7 years, to move forward without looking back. But Derek's death forced him to look back, to examine the man he'd become in the aftermath of betrayal. He'd wanted to be stronger, smarter, less vulnerable to deception. He'd succeeded at all of those things. He'd also become colder, more calculating, more willing to cause pain in service of justice. Aaron picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts until he found Derek's number. He stared at it for a long time, remembering their last conversation, Derek's promise to try to be honest, Aaron's advice to start fresh. He deleted the contact. Then he opened his text messages and wrote to Kate. Derek, the guy from my divorce situation, killed himself. I'm processing. Thanks for being patient with me. She responded immediately. I'm so sorry. Come over if you need company. Or don't if you need space. Whatever you need. Aaron smiled despite everything. Kate understood that grief and guilt were complex emotions that couldn't be fixed with platitudes or forced positivity. She understood that sometimes the best thing you could do for someone was simply let them feel what they needed to feel. He finished his drink and went to bed, knowing that tomorrow he'd have to figure out how to live with Derek's death and his own role in it. But tonight he just needed to sleep. In the morning, Aaron would call in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. He'd spend the day walking through Cincinnati's parks, thinking about responsibility and consequences, and the difference between justice and revenge. He'd have dinner with Kate and her daughter, helping with homework and pretending everything was normal. Eventually, life would continue. Aaron would go back to work, back to his routine, back to building something new from the wreckage of his old life. But Derek's death would always be there, a reminder that actions have consequences, that revenge has a cost, that sometimes getting what you want isn't worth what you have to become to get it. 6 months later, Aaron would propose to Kate in the same kitchen where he'd first heard evidence of Nina's betrayal. She'd say yes, and they'd start planning a small wedding with only the people who mattered most. But that night, sitting alone in his house, with the weight of Derek's death settling over him like snow, Aaron finally understood the full cost of his transformation. He'd gotten his revenge, reclaimed his dignity, built a better life. He'd also contributed to a man's decision to end his own life. Both things were true. Both things would always be true. Aaron turned off the lights and went upstairs, carrying that knowledge with him into whatever came next.